What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my builds guide and unit review of our latest renderer battle unit, Panette. So she's a book 8 axe infantry unit, and because she has come after the 2-star legends, she has got more BST than any other Grail unit. So she has got 197 BST and she comes with her preferred weapon Berserker Axe. So this gives her minus on special cooldown, which is already pretty amazing because not a lot of Grail units get the minus on special cooldown. And then she gets a bit of support going with her weapon. So at start of turn, for herself and the allies in 2 spaces, she gives out the Time Pulse 3 effect. So this is basically a joint drive Time Pulse 3, and this is going to be really good for pre-charging her own specials and providing support to your allies. So we have seen a lot of Grail units nowadays with having a bit of support, and a lot of times they come with some kind of visible status. But Panette is pretty unique in that aspect that she gives you a joint drive effect, and that too Time Pulse 3. So it is kinda like open domain of Asker, and she is pretty much a free-to-play version of that. And then for her own combat, she's able to get extra stats to all of her stats depending on 25% of foe's attack at start of combat, subtracted with 4. So max this could be 14 and minimum this is gonna be 5. So basically her foe needs to have 72 visible attack so that she can get the Spectrum 14 out of this weapon. So not the easiest way of getting the extra stats, but most of the modern units that are going to be facing in Aether Raids and Arena are going to be having enough attack stat, and if not, then they're going to be having some kind of visible attack buff. And then she has got guaranteed follow-up attack because she doesn't have the highest speed. She does have decent enough speed, but nowadays the units are crazy fast, so guaranteed follow-up attack does help her, and it also works as a pseudo half-null follow-up in many of the scenarios. And then she has got true damage based on the damage dealt to her. So keep in mind that this is not talking about the damage dealt in a specific combat, and this is talking about the damage dealt to her overall, and it is going to be checking for her HP when she's going to be attacking. So this works like the Vengeance effect, so you're going to be getting more true damage depending on your missing HP, and max this could be 30. So this is a lot of true damage that you can get out of her, and we haven't really seen this kind of effect much. The only unit to have this effect is Owain with his Weapon Refine, but he only gets the Vengeance effect on his special triggers and not on his regular attacks. So Panette wants to take more damage so that she can have more true damage and do a lot of damage to her enemies, and she has got another layer of true damage. So she gets 15% of her attack in the combat as the true damage, and combining both of these layers of true damage, she can pretty much go anywhere from 40 to 50 true damage, which is quite insane for a free-to-play unit. And this is a unit that people are going to be building for arena usage, so the support does go a long way, and she does have the highest base attack in the game at base 48 with a super boon, and she also has super boon to her speed. So most of the time, if you're going to be spending trade fruits on her, you're going to be focusing on her attack, and then if you're going to be ascending an asset, then you can pick her speed. Her defense is also decent at 35, and she does have a resistance super boon, and her HP is at a pretty nice amount where you can utilize something like Infantry Pulse 4. For her base kit, she does come with Fire Boost 3, which is definitely not good for 2024, and Panic Smoke 3. So Fallen Linus had this, and Panette is another Axe Infantry to have it. And comparing her to some of the other Grail options, we do have Hans, who has similar damage output to Panette with the damage reflection, and even though Panette doesn't really have the damage reflection, she can still get a lot of true damage, and Berserker Axe is a more modern weapon, so at least it is going to be giving her more stats, and she also doesn't need to be solo like Hans. I do have a plus in Hans, and always having him solo in arena is kinda annoying at times, so I cannot wait to upgrade to Panette, who's just going to be a much better modern unit with the support that she can provide. And Fallen Linus is also an option, and he is faster, but he's not going to be having the damage output of Panette or even Hans. Because Panette has got 197 BST, she is the highest free-to-play scoring unit for arena usage. As of making this video, we're probably going to be getting a couple down the line, but Panette is going to be one of the better units, and if you have not really invested in the last gen units or the previous units like Farkas or Fallen Linus, then she can be a pretty good option for getting that high scoring, and she scores same as a plus 10 Summer Galvig. Obviously, Summer Galvig is going to be making it a lot easier for you in arena with her multiple actions, but I'm just saying that to compare the scoring that you're going to be getting with Panette. And even if you don't run her with the distant counter melee Sacred Seal, you're still going to be scoring pretty decent, and same as Fallen Linus and Fargus. We do have High Dragon Wall female Kana, who is a pretty unique unit who scores high without a preferred weapon, and Panette can actually help a lot of the free-to-play units pre-charge their specials or even pre-charge something like Godlike Reflexes, which wasn't really easy before unless you stacked up multiple infantry pulses. Overall, Panette is an amazing free-to-play unit who has got the good mix of combat and support, and it's not that she's only going to be useful in arena, she's actually quite versatile. She can function as a Vantage unit, she can function as a Gale Force unit, and of course in arena she's going to be the highest scoring free-to-play option. She does have a lot of high damage output, and she pairs up really well with Brave Bernie with her Paranoia status, so that is an easy way of utilizing her with Vantage. And if we get Vantage 4 in the future, that is also something she would like to have. And she is going to be working in many of the Gale Force teams by pulsing down her allies, and that is going to be helping you pre-charge your AoE specials on units like Brave Felix, and also help your other allies with the Gale Force. And she works like a free-to-play Garrick in a way, because she has that pulse effect, but obviously it's not map-wide, and she doesn't really provide the null penalty status. But still, it's incredibly useful, and if you are going to be plus merging her, then that's also a way that you can use her. But if you've recently invested in a couple of free-to-play units for your arena core, then you might not want to upgrade so quickly, because even if you have Fallen Lloyd or Fargus, they're going to be scoring similarly, and Panette is not going to be a huge jump in your arena scoring. And unfortunately, Panette doesn't really have any kind of damage reduction for tanking consistently in arena, so you're going to be needing something like Godlike Reflexes, and if you're going to be running that, then she does have the workable speed, but it's not really as high as you would like it to be, so that just goes to show you how fast some of the units get, but still it can work out in arena. And if you're going to be building a Panette on a budget, then you can just give her Fury, and you could run a low cooldown special like Glimmer or Moonbow, and Wrath can actually be a pretty nice budget option that you could run in her slot B, because it gives her true damage. And we don't really have Wrath 4 yet, but Wrath 3 is basically going to be satisfying your itch of stacking up more true damage on Panette. So even at this kind of budget investment, she's going to be able to pre-charge her Glimmer and do a lot of damage with her Wrath, and the chip damage from Fury actually does help her with her Vengeance effect and her weapon. So for stuff like limited battles, this is going to be doing fine. And if you're trying to go for more skills on her and more merges, then you could try and run some of the skills from Divine Codes. So you could provide her the fodder from Ascended Set Combat Manual with Special Spiral 4 and Infantry Pulse 4. And you could also run Attack Speed Push 4 that we have just got in the Limited Ephemera Manual. So that's a decent mid-budget skill that you could run on her. And it is going to be giving you more offenses and the chip damage. And Dragon Fang, her default special, works out fine, with Emblem Marth making it a 2 cooldown special. And with her Time Pulse and her Infantry Pulse, she's going to be pre-charging it and then looping it with Special Spiral. And then you run her with Brave Bernie, who can give you the Paranoia status and enable Vantage. So even at this kind of investment, she's going to be able to function as a pretty fun Vantage unit. And you can also use her in Aether Raids offense like I was talking about in your Gale Force teams. So she can pulse down your infantry allies with Infantry Pulse, and Flash Sparrow is going to be giving you these special charges so that you can easily trigger Gale Force in a single hit. And Speed Defense Tempo Sacred Seal does make it a lot easier and has got good synergy with Flash Sparrow. So she can function as a one-tap Gale Force unit, and if you want to optimize it further, then you could try and run her with Emblem Marth and have a unit like Asker. So her Gale Force is basically going to be a 1 cooldown special that she's going to be able to trigger easily because of Speed Defense Tempo Sacred Seal, and you could try and get some damage reduction piercing with Physical Null follow-up, and Mercy Wing Echo is going to be able to give you the warping, and you also get Firestorm Boost 3 from Attuned Azura at that same time. And Firestorm Boost 3 is easily one of the best skills for Panette because it gives you the extra HP, which she can make use of, and also gives you more offenses, and also the guard effect, which again does have good synergy with the tempo that you're going to be getting out of your Sacred Seal. And Infantry Pulse 4 is also going to be easily one of the best options for her in any kind of game mode because it stacks with the Drive Time Pulse 3 that she's got in her weapon, and you could also function as a Vantage unit with Brave Bernie, and we don't really have Wrath 4 in the slot base, so Lull Speed Defense 4 is going to be working out fine, and Creation Pulse is actually a pretty nice LOTC option for a Vantage Panette, because with Emblem Marth you can have a 1 cooldown no quarter, and then you're able to get 2 special jumps out of Creation Pulse. So this way, even if you're affected by Hush Spectrum, you're still able to trigger her no quarter, pierce through the damage reduction of the enemy, and also function as a Vantage unit. Creation Pulse is going to be needing the penalty status effects on the enemy, so it can work out a bit easily in the light season where you're not going to be facing Freyr, but still there is attuned Micaiah, and there is a lot of Hardy Bearing because of Emblem Ike and attuned Erica, so you'll have to watch out for that because Panette is pretty much going to be dying if there's a strong nuke with Hardy Bearing, because she doesn't really have any kind of damage reduction with this kind of build. And with Brave Bernie, you're going to be getting that Friendly Fire 1 damage, so you could Reciprocal Aid on a Mythic unit and pretty much get that full 30 Vengeance true damage out of her weapon. And she's going to be hitting pretty hard. So Vantaging is something that you could do, and Null Counter Disrupt Echo is going to be needed so that you don't get swept by many of the nukes. So you could snag that while giving her the fodder from attuned Erica with D bonus doubler. And at max investment, even though this is kind of a boring build, Panette can still run it with Lagoo's Friend. So she does have decent enough defense to make the use out of it and get the flat damage reduction and even more true damage, and you get the full damage reduction piercing. And because Panette's damage output is already pretty high, you can try and run a defensive special like Godlike Reflexes, and even though it is going to be 2 cooldown with her weapon, it still works with Lagoo's Friend because it's a defensive special and it doesn't really have any kind of special cooldown requirement for it. And Panic Smoke 4 could work out with the prerequisite that she already has. She doesn't really have the good synergy with a lot of the healing with the finish guilds or Breath of Life 4, because you want her to take a bit of damage so that you can get that true damage with her weapon and have the better damage output. A bit of healing is still going to be nice because you don't want to die, and you can basically stat stack with this slot A and bonus doubler, and Null Counter Disrupt Echo is basically going to be her best attuned skill. So Godlike Reflexes is going to be giving you the unpierceable damage reduction and some more true damage, and you could run it with Emblem Ike to have even more unpierceable damage reduction. So she could try and tank with this, and if you're going to be using her in Arena, then one of the better builds for her is going to be using Gust. So you can only use Lagoo's Friend because Gust is a 2 cooldown special with her weapon, so that's why you could run Physical Null Follow-Up for the damage reduction piercing. And Null Follow-Up is definitely something you want in Arena because a lot of slow units are going to be there with the guaranteed follow-up attack. And then Firestorm Boost 3 is amazing for having the extra HP to work with Infantry Pulse 4. And with her Drive Time Pulse and Infantry Pulse 4, she's able to give out a lot of good support and also pre-charge Gust. And some unpierceable damage reduction is needed in Arena because there's so much damage reduction piercing. So Gust does help you with that. So if you're worried about her not being that fast, you can still try and get the damage output out of this. And Distant Counter Melee Sacred Seal is needed because it's a 300 SP Sacred Seal, and that's what makes her score higher. So you definitely want to have it. And if you can have access to Null Counter Disrupt, you could try and run it, but it's not that big of a need for something like Arena compared to it is in Aether Raids. If you don't really have attuned Erica's fodder, then you can still run No Quarter as the special to get that full damage reduction piercing, and Firestorm Boost, if you don't really have it, then you could just run any other slotty skill. It's gonna be working fine. You mainly need some kind of damage reduction piercing either with No Quarter or with Physical Null Follow-Up. But for Arena usage, Infantry Pulse 4 is going to be the best slotsy skill, and if you're going to be going all the way to the max, then you could try and run her with Lagoo's Friend 4, and even though her pulsing effects are not as much needed for herself with Lagoo's Friend and Godlike Reflexes, they're still pretty nice to have for the allies. And Lagoo's Friend is going to be giving you that flat damage reduction, so she's going to be a lot more tanky in Arena if that's what you want. And you could also run Aether again if you think she's not fast enough, but Godlike Reflexes is going to be giving you that damage reduction against a lot of these slow units, which she's definitely going to be faster than. I'm actually pretty excited with Panette being here because I really wanted to invest in some kind of modern Arena option. I've already invested in Female Kana because even though she doesn't really give out the order status like Farkas, I don't think I kind of needed that much because I do have my plus 10 Plumeria that I use with Soaring Guidance, so I do have the Warping, and Panette support is a lot more unique. So unless we get some kind of trainee unit, Panette is gonna be solid arena investment until next year when we see another BST bump, and she's gonna be in the Grail shop in 2 months. I wanna thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and you can click the link on the screen right now to check out my breakdown of the Choose Your Legends 8 banner, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as your game if you run a reopening Panette as of making this video. So that's all, see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.